Wheels Up's position on electric is, if electric's happening, we want to distribute that product first. So I'm sort of agnostic. I'm hoping that our industry continues to evolve. And like I said, I think that if the technology gets there and the regulatory is there, my simple position is we'll be in the business. We'll let some people, I think, make some mistakes and go at it first. But I think ultimately that anybody that's dealing with a membership model like ours and has trust of its membership, that it's our job to make sure that we're monitoring what's happening at the OEM front or the new players. And when the stuff is safe and ready to go, Wheels Up will be in the electric business. But until then, we're pretty happy with the King Air 350i. I figured I'd kick this off. There's a lot of heavy stuff that we've heard already this morning. I got a couple of quick videos just to get everybody a little loose. I like to say that Wheels Up is endeavoring to be as much a lifestyle brand as it is an aviation brand. When I started my career with Richard Santulli, who founded NetJets in 1986 and then famously sold his company to one of his customers in 1998, Warren Buffett, my endeavor was, how can we make the TAM and how can we make the aviation pyramid bigger? And Richard and Warren both told me that we were crazy, that the marquee jet card, which we came up with in 2000, 2001, that there was not a programmatic private aviation flyer, business or individual, that was going to be a 20 to 30 hour user. That person didn't exist. He or she was going to go through the phone book and look for a charter operator in their city, but there was no way that 20 to 30 hour player was a viable player in the market. Obviously, the marquee jet card, we shook hands with Richard and Warren in February 2001, so I'm going back into ancient history, and we did $5 billion worth of top line on that marquee jet product and graduating people up to NetJets. So we did surely prove out that 20 to 30 hour flyer was a viable player in the space. And again, I think today when you look at marquee NetJet and other players in the space that are utilizing a card product, that for sure that's something that helped grow the TAM, which is what I really want to talk about a little bit. As far as lifestyle goes, the 25-hour flyer that we identified way back in 2001, I look at the quick math, and I know from this panel I couldn't have got up there. I want to disclaim that I'm the lowest SAT, lowest GPA CEO ever to sell a company to Berkshire Hathaway, so my math is more simple. There's 24 hours in a day and 365 days in a year, so there's 8,760 hours in a year. On a 20 to 30 hour flyer, it means they're on the ground 8,740 hours a year. So you got to entertain them if you want to have a sticky, compounding subscription model. So we do a lot of stuff with our member base, sort of on the ground. We like to call that our Wheels Down program. But in the same way that I like to compare Wheels Up more to Ralph Lauren's polo business. I know, has anybody ever worn a polo shirt with the little mallet and the great logo there? Somebody have that in their wardrobe? I would say that 99.8% of people that wear polo and supported that brand, which by the way is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year with an over $10 billion cap, have never played polo. So I just want to say that, lifestyle and branding, I think is really important as it relates to expanding the TAM in our space. I'm going to kick this off with two videos. One is, as I said, we're a winners brand. We were able to partner, and I like to partner with winners, and I like to partner with winners when they're at their most relevant. We have two equine partners that we've partnered with. There's been two Triple Crown champions in the last 40 years. Wheels Up was lucky enough to be partnered with both American Pharoah and his ownership, and Justify and their ownership. So I figured I'd kick it off with the Justify Triple Crown race for anybody that missed it, because we like the race and we thought just to get the conference moving, we'll kick that video off. So without further ado, let's hear from Justify.
For the 150th Belmont Stakes, and here with the call, Larry Colmus.
Justify in stall one. Will he take his place in history as Blended Citizen goes in They're all in line. We are ready for a start. They're off in the 150th Belmont Stakes. And it was a very good beginning for Justify, who goes immediately to the early lead in the race to the first turn. So it will be Justify to set the pace here. And there on the outside goes Restoring Hope, the other Bob Baffert trainee, who's wide into that turn and in running in second position. Right in behind them in third is Bravazzo. Noble Indy is off the pace. And then on the inside comes Tenfold. The opening quarter mile was a swift one, 23.37 seconds. Very fast pace for Justify, who will lead the field on to the backstretch here, with his stablemate Restoring Hope sitting in second. And on the inside, Bravazzo is third. Noble Indy is fourth. Tenfold fifth. Vino Rosso sixth. The Blended Citizen on the outside, followed by Hofberg and Free Drop Billy. Gronkowski is last. They've slowed things down a bit. 48.11 was the half. That's just a bit faster than American Pharoah went 3 years ago. Justify and Mike Smith, the Kentucky Derby and Preakness winner, head up the backstretch in the Belmont Stakes with a length lead. Restoring Hope on the outside is second. Bravazzo is down toward the inside. Noble Indy is next. Vino Rosso is close up running in fifth. He's 5 lengths off the lead. 3/4 went in 1 minute, 13.21 seconds. Halfway home in the Belmont. And then comes Tenfold on the inside of Blended Citizen. Hofberg is drafting in behind horses. 6 lengths off the lead. Free Drop Billy and Gronkowski, the last of them all. And Mike Smith and Justify make their run into the far turn. They've got a 2-length lead. Restoring Hope is put to a ride as Vino Rosso begins to rev it up on the outside. Bravazzo is down toward the rail. They've run a mile in 1:38.09 seconds. Justify is the leader, but it's just a half-length advantage here. Vino Rosso comes under a ride. Mike Smith is not asked Justify to go just yet. Justify a length lead here as they come to the top of the stretch. Vino Rosso is second. Hofberg comes on the scene, and Gronkowski has cut the corner, and they're into the stretch. And Justify comes roaring home to a raucous Belmont Park with 1 furlong to run. Gronkowski and Hofberg trying to run him down. Vino Rosso is fourth, a 16th to go. Justify is still there. Justify from Gronkowski. He's just perfect, and now he's just immortal. Justify is the 13th Triple Crown winner. Gronkowski was second, Hofberg was third, and Vino Rosso was fourth. Justify has done it!
Congratulations, Mike. Awesome.
All right, that's perfect. I think everybody got the point. So we, on behalf of the industry, we figured we'd get a little coverage on the horse there. And I think people in the audience might be saying, what does Justify have to do with private aviation? And I would tell you that it's really about the TAM. You know, that's a wide net we're casting there. 20 million people watch that race. You couldn't have more contextual relevance. You know, a 30-second spot on NBC, and obviously you can't run it in race like a football game. You might be able during a timeout run a TV spot, but we figured like the contextual relevance on that and hitting 20 million people and getting our brand name out there, and again associating with a winner. There's a Super Bowl winner. There's an NCAA champion in every sport every year. That's now twice in 40 years, and we were lucky enough to have the same setup with American Pharoah. But the important point, I think, that we're trying to make is that we think that the TAM for the space is much greater than the TAM is today, or the way that we look at traditional TAM. You can argue, and I know there's a lot of different numbers out there, but we live in a $12 billion space, the space that I live in, the 135 and the 91. It's a $12 billion space. When Uber in 2009 presented their business plan to the world, taxi and limousine in North America was an $11 billion space. Now it's a $200 billion space. So at the end of the day, I think for everybody in this room to be successful, you got to look at how do we get newbies into this space. And again, I had this big conversation with Santulli and Buffett way back about whether the earth was flat or the earth was round. I was actually on the round side, saying that we believe that that 20 to 30 hour customer was a legitimate person that we should be pursuing in our space. And again, $5 billion of sales later on that product, the Marquis Jet product. I think we nailed that. I would say one piece about our Wheels Up model, and I'll give a quick 30,000 foot on what the Wheels Up model is. I would say that we're endeavoring to be more Netflix than NetJets, and that's with due respect to NetJets. We're endeavoring to be more Netflix than NetJets, which is a subscription model that anybody in this room, we want everybody in this room to have a membership tier that everybody in this room can afford, enjoy, and feel value in. You know, how do you start a brand and how do you start a membership model the right way? I think you got to start it like all great brands with trust, and you got to reverse the pyramid. So if the aviation pyramid starts up top, and Paul Tao, thank you, the Wright brothers, December 17th, 1903, they started the aviation pyramid. First brick, whole aircraft ownership. Second brick was something that Santulli came up with in 1986, 83 years later, which was fractional jet ownership. Surely made the pyramid much wider. A lot more people could afford a piece of a plane than a whole plane. Then you go one brick below fractional. I like to say it's card fractional. Allie, if you're a journalist, would you give that to us? Okay, so card fractional after fractional, which is you're going to fly in a closed fleet, you're going to get all the creature comforts of NetJets, but you don't have to have the residual value risk. That's basically what Marquis Jet was, or for the finance people in the room, we were selling a married put against the residual value of the airplane with some good marketing around it. After that, I think you have the biggest and the biggest opportunity in the space, because below card fractional really is when you get into charter, and charter becomes a little bit murkier. You lose a little bit of the predictability that you have with closed fleet. You're not sure who the operator is. You're sort of diametrically opposed to your charter broker. So if your charter broker is going to give you 3 or 4 options for a flight that you want to take, he or she is going to probably try to push you on the option where they have the most spread between the operator and the customer. And that's just, that's the nature of brokering. I don't think that works so well for the client. So at the end of the day, you know, we endeavored to work on something called the membership space. And like American Express, I'll borrow from them, memberships has its privileges. We didn't start this business with the green card. Everybody knows what the green card is, and then the gold card, and then the platinum card, and now the black card, and then they're going to do a super black card. We actually took that pyramid and we turned it upside down. So the black card of our space is our membership model today, which is $17.5 for an individual to join, $29.5 if you're a corporate, and then you get access to our fleet, which is driven by the King Air 350i, which has, you know, we have exclusive with Textron on it, and what that did is it created a disruptive price point, now $44.95 per occupied hour, at the core of our offering. And, you know, where do we sit today, 5 years later, without boring anybody with the details? We'll exit this year with 5,000 members. That's all in good standing. Our stick rate is somewhere between 84 and 86%, depends how we measure and where we measure. So we've been able to retain, on a cumulative basis, 84 to 86%, which is great for any sort of subscription model. And where are we going next? I mean, on the core business, we'd like to get to 10,000. It took us 5 years to get to 5,000. We're the #1 on-demand 135 operator. You can see those stats through Gamma. Allie, thank you for highlighting those and keeping me abreast as to where we are. And I think we're just getting started. So first 5 years, 5,000 members. Next 3.5 years, we want to get to 10,000 members. The average member is spending $80,000, $85,000 with us. So at 10,000 plus our membership fees, our renewals, by the way, are $8,500 for the individual member and $14,500 for the corporate. So very understandable and affordable. We'll be about $1 billion of revs on the top line at 10,000 members. We'll exit this year with a $400 million run rate. But I think the magic in our space is something, I guess I'm like getting old like Santulli and Buffett were with me. I think the 10 to 20 hour, or the 5 to 10 or 5 to 15 hour flyer, which is a newbie in our space, somebody who isn't really in our space yet, they're a concept buyer, where I think we'll focus on 10,000 on the tier ones, this Tier 2 membership, sort of if we're starting out with the black card, our platinum card or our gold card, if we were taking an American Express analogy, that could be 50, 100, 150,000 people that have the ability and the means. If you go look at the wealth spread in the United States, Western Europe, and Asia, there's millions and millions of people that, like Ralph Lauren, they wanted to wear polo on their chest. Like aviation, I mean, we're in the sexiest business in the world. We got to start selling it sexy if we want millions and not just 100,000 people that support all of our job set here. So that's really what we're after here. And again, I think it's all about segmentation. You know, post having this core, I think having a membership that's a couple of $1,000 that people can be part of. Again, I think off the ramp, wheels down is going to be even more important for this group. You got to entertain them. They want to be in the aviation lifestyle business with us. I think about a yacht club. How many people at the yacht club that eat the bacon cheeseburgers and the ham and eggs actually own a yacht? A lot of them own Boston Whalers, but they're hanging around with the 3 or 4 people that own the yachts, and there's hundreds of families that gather and swim and whatnot, but they're in the yacht club. So I think that, more interesting to me is the people that are around the yacht people, and we're going to be able to sort of aggregate into a membership tier. And then, of course, ultimately, you may want to have a free tier here. I always say the holy grail in our space is, why is Open Table, Hotels Tonight, Bookings.com, or Uber able to do what they do in our space? And our space is sort of late to the party in terms of organizing the assets. Obviously, you need a lot of trust and a lot of regulatory on your side. But, Wheels Up is endeavoring sort of post the second or third membership tier that's going to be affordable to everybody. Ultimately, we want a free tier where people can go a la carte. Yes, they're not going to get a Wheels Up hat like everybody got here, and they're not coming to the Super Bowl, the Masters, in the free tier. But you look at what Spotify's doing, and you look at some of the really special models out there in the world and how they're able to sort of segment what they're doing and price accordingly for what people are getting. And that's really the space that Wheels Up is endeavoring to play in. With that, John, can we queue up? I want to run one more spot. Thinking about TAM, with limited marketing budget, you can't do everything. Obviously, we love being in business with the horses. We've chosen college sports as an area that we want to, sort of partner in. We love the addressable market there is 10, 20, 30 million people that are sort of living alumni that care about their schools. We know that the more involved that people are with their university, the more likely they are to fly back there at some point in time. So when I think of the 5 to 10 to 15-hour flyer, he or she might go up for an academic conference or a football game or, sort of an alumni weekend. And we partner with ESPN on College Game Day. And if anybody ever has seen that broadcast, or if you haven't, it's 9 to 12 Eastern time. It's sort of the sports center or the squawk box of college football. And Kirk Herbstreit, who has been one of our equity partners since day one, Reese Davis, Desmond Howard, all partners. We partner with them. We fly in the Wheels Up Celebrity Picker every week, probably a 3 or 4 or 500-mile flight that we're responsible for. That picker gets off the plane and picks the 12 or 13 games that the guys talk about during the week, and we run some media around that I thought that everybody would get a kick out of. So we'll run a quick 30 on the media that we're running around the College Game Day stuff, and it really emphasizes, again, the TAM that we're going after, and the 3 sort of ambassadors in the spot. Each of them had a win this weekend: Russell Wilson, J.J. Watt, and Tom Brady. So we can cue that. Appreciate that. So again, I think that what I'm trying to get across to the room too is, if you look at that spot, that's not a Boeing spot. It's not an Airbus spot. It's not a United Airlines spot. It's a lifestyle spot that we're putting out there, and that's something, again, we're endeavoring to do. Al, I'm happy to take some questions, or, sort of any idea. By the way, any ideas that anybody wants to give us, I'm happy to slide you an hour out of my personal account if it works.
I don't think we've got an hour on the agenda for that. Any questions for Kenny? Mike's
Right
just...
there, go ahead.
The odds on Justify?
It's interesting. The odds on Justify, when it pre-race, it felt like on the screen it said 4 to 5. Pre-race, it was about that, which to me, again, I'm short on the math, but long on the simplicity. My handicapping was that Wheels Up had a 50% chance to win that race, and then the arbitrage for us is how much media do you garner, whether it be social media, the actual physical broadcast, what's that worth, a few $1 million, and the residual. We looked at it as a potential, if the horse won, 50 to 100 times our investment if the horse won. And again, I think that there's hundreds of millions of dollars of, sort of brand that we won, that we gained by having that horse win. And again, two times in 40 years, and we got them both. I just think it sticks forever. So again, we looked at both American Pharoah and Justify and said probably 50-50 that they win the race. So that said is, you got to take a shot. I think if either of the horses didn't win, we would have got our money back, meaning, pre-race and all the other times that you could see the logo. It just wouldn't have been as contextually relevant. So we went out on a limb there, and we were right. I'm retired from horse racing, by the way, after that.
Any more questions? If not, then thanks so much, Kenny. Great job. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you, Alex.